Thank you for asking me to make a video about sports psychiatry. This was a topic that has been fascinating to me ever since I was a young kid. I was always into watching sports, especially the psychological aspect. For example, when good athletes sign big contracts and they don't perform up to their standards afterwards. And so it questions like, why would they do that? Are they in it just for the money? Or is there some other psychological process that's going on? How come some people seem to thrive in big pressure moments while others do not? So thank you for asking to make this video about sports psychiatry. And as a psychiatrist, I'll often deal with the medical aspect and medication aspect. I'll talk about different types of medications that may play an important role in sports psychiatry, including helping people with the anxiety of performing, also maybe medications that can use to enhance their athletic performance, and some of the demands that professional athletes go through in order to be in their craft and to excel in their craft and the sacrifices they make. There's going to be so much information in this field of sports psychiatry that one video might not do it justice, but feel free to ask other questions in the comments for more videos about this subject. It's something I'm really interested in and would be happy to explore more. So first of all, whenever there's a physical problem or a medical problem, that can affect the mental health. And one of the most common injuries, at least in tennis players, is this notion of tennis elbow. And it's where this repeated hitting motions with the tennis ball causes basically an inflammation or a wear and tear on the elbow area. And so these tennis players are not able to continue to play because they have this injury. And so many of these athletes use these sports as a way to cope, to deal with stress, to help them with their anxiety or struggles or their problems in everyday life. They may just go hit the tennis ball around for a little bit or shoot the basketball around. And so when an injury, like a physical injury, prevents them from doing this activity that they enjoy, that's going to add almost like another layer or burden of stress onto them, because this outlet that they have, this coping skill that they've developed, likely when they're young, just isn't there anymore. Interestingly, I came across a doctor that I work with in the hospital setting, and he said he played tennis a lot and he developed tennis elbow, and he got an evaluation and the doctor was recommending surgery for him. And he didn't want to go through surgery because his type of medical field, he does a lot of procedures and this would affect his ability to work. And so he researched other ways to deal with this inflammation of this tennis elbow, and he found that changing the diet can help with this inflammation and with this process. And so just after a few weeks of removing like fatty foods, sugars, processed foods, it healed his injury. So it goes to show that our diet plays such an important role in both physical and mental health. I have several videos about nutrition and diet and stuff in other playlists. You can check that out for more information. Psychologically, there's so many factors involved that can affect one's performance in the day-to-day. In particular, like spending time traveling for games or for situations and being away from the family, especially if they have young kids or they have a newly married. These young wives or mothers may feel burdened by the lack of attention they're getting from their significant others. Also, the traveling that it does for athletes is an added stress that they have to sort of deal with. For example, they may fly late at night or fly early in the morning, and it may affect their sleep cycle, or they may have irregular sleep patterns because of that. And oftentimes, in order for someone to perform their best, they're going to need good sleep. And psychologically, we typically recommend to be very consistent with your sleep patterns. Go to bed at the same time every night, wake up at the same time every morning. And this is a whole topic called sleep hygiene, and I have several other videos about that topic you could look at for more information. So that just adds like another layer of demands or pressures, especially when they go out to perform in front of thousands or even millions of people at times. There are some medications that can be used in sports psychiatry to help them get an edge. For example, Propranolol is a medication that's used as needed for anxiety, and it's often used for performance anxiety. So when someone has feel like the racing heart, feel like the heart is racing fast, they get shaky or trembling, that can affect their performance in the game or in their situation. But propranolol can help calm those nerves and calm that anxiety. So maybe they don't feel that added anxiety or tension because of this medication. Other medications that can help are stimulants. Stimulants can help one to focus and concentrate, and it may help them to tune out the distractions they have around them. Now, usually these are prescribed for situations like ADD or ADHD, but in some cases it can also be used for depression, especially in people that are older. And sometimes people who have sleep apnea or daytime fatigue are on stimulants because that helps them stay awake. So some people might use a stimulant to help them even for the fatigue from traveling if they didn't get a good night's sleep and they need to be up. But these medications are very closely regulated, not only by the drug agency that governs these medications, but also I believe a lot of athletes will have to do drug screens and prove that they are actually on this for a required mental health condition if it's found in their drug screen. Of course, steroids have been used for several years to help performances. There's a big issue in the baseball era and the 90s and 2000s about steroids. Helps people to gain muscle quickly, to recover faster. In most cases, those are not going to be medically necessary, and they're not going to be allowed for athletes to use to help with their performance. But I already mentioned how sleep can be an important thing in sports psychiatry, especially if people are traveling a lot and have irregular sleep schedules. And there's several medications that are available to help people sleep. And if they sleep better, that might help their performance during the day. And also, lack of sleep can lead to psychiatric or mental health consequences down the road. But I think also one of the most common reasons people don't perform up to their standards, especially after they've signed big contracts or they have high expectations, is because they don't deal with the stress or anxiety or life correctly. For example, they may get lost into the party scene, visiting new cities. They may start drinking alcohol or using illegal drugs, and they may get sort of carried away in this lifestyle and even in an addiction. So when someone's going to be addicted to like alcohol or drugs, maybe it's sex, it's probably going to negatively affect their ability to perform at a very high level. So you can see that there's so many things that can affect an athlete's performance in sports. Some of the things I mentioned are physical injuries, sleep, anxiety. Not to mention if they go through depression or anxiety, just like a lot of other people in the general population, that's going to affect their performance. And so a psychiatrist would treat that often with the same way. Antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, therapy, maybe a combination of stuff. And these athletes are also not immune to being criticized or being bullied or harassed by fans, by people in the community. Some people in the sports industry even get death threats. And so that can be a source of trauma that they experience. And that can be a whole other set of mental health problems that need sort of treatment. So hopefully this sheds some light on what professional athletes may go through. Please let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like the video for more videos like this one and subscribe to the channel to help support the channel. Thank you for watching.